Hey, what's going on? Mike with Triple Check Electric. I want to talk in this video about derating conductors inside of Conduit. And the reason this came up in this particular instance was the fact that I had to relocate this panel to over here. I just got my inspection done, passed with flying colors. The inspector was in here and he was taking pictures of the installation, and he looked at it and he looked at me and he said, "Why'd you do it that way?" Kind of like in a smart ass tone. And I looked at him like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Why'd you run so many conduits?" And I said, "Because I don't want to have to upsize all my conductors because of deration." And he goes, "Ah, very good." So what he was kind of joking around with me about and making sure that I knew why I was doing what I was doing was, you can only have so many conductors inside of Conduit before you have to take that conductor's rated ampacity and start to derate it by a percentage that's dictated in the section code, the code section 310.15. There's a table in there. It has a table for 4 to 6 conductors, 7 to 9, and it goes down from there. And every section down, the more conductors you put into a conduit, the more you have to lessen the ampacity for each conductor inside of that conduit. They do this because the more conduits you have inside, the more conductors you have inside of a conduit, the more heat's created. And the more heat's created, the less ampacity the circuit can handle. So what I originally wanted to do was to take a nipple and run 2 feet from here to here, and then put the panel there. But being the fact that this ductwork is there, I couldn't do that because I need 6 foot of clearance from the top of my panel, the full width of the panel up, and have no obstruction other than anything that's electrically associated with the panel. So that forced me to look at moving it further. And I could just barely get 2 feet to the edge of this window here, but then the panel would be underneath this window. I had 2 concerns there. One of them was I don't want to put a panel underneath the window because if water were ever to infiltrate that, that's not a good thing. And then the other thing, as far as inspection goes, this window opens up. And when it opens up, it's actually in the working space of that panel. And I talked to the inspector about this, and I asked him if he would have dinged me for that. He said because the window is recessed into the wall, it's not technically above what we call the working space. So the depth and the width of this panel up straight 6 feet is the working space. Technically, I could have ran it here. He said, yeah, he probably could have dinged me with it being open, but he personally wouldn't have done that. So to avoid that, what I did was just bring it all the way over to the other side of the window, which is barely on the side of the window, or it barely clears it, but it does clear it. I had to do that because of this cabinets here, and the homeowner didn't want to get rid of the cabinet. So anyways, back to the deration. So when I have about 40 some conductors inside of here. If I would have ran a 2-inch from point A to point B, I would have had to derate that at 30 or 40%. So 40% or 30, I think it's 30% of the conductor's ampacity. So like a number 12, for instance, on the 90-degree chart, number 12 THHN, you can derate off the 90-degree chart. You'd have to take 30 times either 0.4 or 0.3, whatever the table says. And that would make me have to run number 8 conductors essentially for every 20 amp circuit. And that is just not something that's smart to do because it costs a lot of money. You have to upsize your conduit. It's just not a good way to do things. So the workaround for that was to run multiple conduits. So I ran 7 conduits. I really only needed to run 6. I ran an extra one. But I have around 6. I think I have around 7 conductors in one conduit. So the ones that have 4 to 6, you have to take You have to go 310.15 the table, 4 to 6 conductors. You take 0.8 times 30 for a number 12 wire, that's THHM, and that gives you a number, I think, around 25. And then if you're at 7 to 9, you have to take it times 70%, which is 0.7. So 0.7 times 30 is 21. So that's still within range of a 20 amp breaker for a number 12 conductor. So that was how I did that. And that's really all I got for this video. This video is probably more for those that are in the electric field and understand this stuff, because it is complicated. Before you get in and comment and start telling me that you have to do it off the 75-degree chart, please go look up the code book and understand what you're talking about before you post, because it is actually not the 75-degree chart. It is actually the 90-degree chart. If the conductor is rated for the 90-degree chart, you can derate off of it. You still can't go above 20 amps for a number 12 wire, but you can derate off the 90-degree chart. So you can run 7 to 9 conductors in a 3/4 inch conduit with number 12 THHN. That's all I got. See ya.